good, and we went to eat until you eat more, because you won't be allowed to have anything, or you won't get to eat anything really until like midnight. So I OD'd on oysters, on char-grilled oysters.
Divine has an extensive resume, starring in a number of TV shows and movies, including Pitch Perfect, filmed on LSU's campus, Modern Family, and Workaholics.
Blake Anderson is here from Workaholics. Got a bunch of my very best friends that are going to have a great time as well.
Now the time has come for Divine to throw some beads and doubloons and get to rolling.
I'm feeling like a billion doubloons right now. It's so much fun. Everybody's so excited, and I can't wait to get started.
And as we know, Bacchus is a New Orleans carnival staple dating back all the way to 1968. And this year, more than 30 floats rolled down the streets of Uptown. Well, one popular attraction every Mardi Gras season is the 610 Stompers, whose brand of dancing always brings extra joy to the parade route. But this year, the group was joined by a special group of ladies known as the Dancing Grannies, who come all the way from Wisconsin. The Grannies made their first appearance at Mardi Gras during the Crew of Toth parade, but not before joining the 610 Stompers at Children's Hospital. The Stompers say they invited the Dancing Grannies to help the ladies recover from a tragedy that happened during a Wisconsin Christmas parade. And this is back in 2021. 3 members of the Dancing Grannies and a volunteer were killed when they were hit by an SUV, and they're hoping Mardi Gras will help them heal.
We have a lot of therapists, nurses, social workers, and people who've worked with kids or vulnerable populations. So, and just even the route going along, a lot of the skilled cares and stuff is like, yeah, this is the right parade for us.
I'd spoken to Jan probably from the very beginning, and she had told me one of the things in the rehabilitation, the healing, was to continue to perform. Yeah. Get out in front of those crowds, and what better stage than Mardi Gras?
And Ginny, one of the women who was killed in the parade, always told us before every parade, you keep on dancing no matter what happens. You just keep dancing.
The 610 Stompers charity Stompers Give Back is also donating a check to the Dancing Grannies, and the Grannies plan to return the favor and invite the Stompers to join them for a parade in Milwaukee in the near future. And tonight, we now know the identity of this year's Queen of Carnival. Eveline Gomilla is a 21-year-old student at the University of Virginia who grew up uptown. As Meg Gatto tells us, Gomilla and her family and her parents are over the moon about her selection as queen.
At the Gomilla family home uptown, photos of Eveline Gomilla with her brothers and parents enjoying the Rex parade adorn the living room.
These are my older brother when he was a Duke last year.
The family's ties to the Rex organization run deep. That's why Evie's selection as Queen of Carnival is one that delighted the entire family. Evie admits she never actually thought she would be the one Rex toasted on Mardi Gras.
It's definitely something I always dreamed of, but I never thought it would be me, so that just made it all the more special to get this honor.
Evie's dad is a lieutenant with Rex. He rides every year, and a tradition he started played into how her parents told her she was named queen.
He was holding out his Rex lieutenant's crop with the purple, green, and gold ribbons on it, and then I was even more confused because I was like, why is that up here from New Orleans? But when I got closer, I saw that there was a little gold crown tied to it. I was so shocked and surprised, and my dad was staring at me. And he's like, do you know what this means? You're going to be Queen of Carnival. And so that was just so exciting, and I was so surprised, and it was a great day.
It's an honor for someone who, at her young age, is already giving back to others in her community, both in New Orleans and in Charlottesville, Virginia, where UVA is located. And this selection as queen will propel her to do even more with Rex's charitable arm.
I've really enjoyed getting to learn about the Pro Bono Publico Foundation ever since finding out I would reign as Queen of Carnival. And I'm excited to get to work with all the former queens and all the effort they put into the organization.
In the months since Evie found out that she would be queen, she's been hard at work designing her gown for the Rex Ball. Another dream come to life thanks to a New Orleans-based designer.
This dress is inspired by a dress that's been in the Dior exhibit that's been traveling around to different museums, and we took inspiration from its pattern that gets smaller towards the waist and then grows out towards the bottom. And as you get closer to the bottom and the squares get bigger, these are stylized fleur-de-lis, and each fleur-de-lis gets a little bit more detailed. And we worked with Suzanne St. Paul, who came up with the beautiful beading design.
Are you sad that you only get to wear this for a day?
I am, but you know, I'm gonna make the best of it, and it'll be an amazing night.
Meg Gatto, Fox 8, Local First.
Evie is majoring in computer science with a minor in economics, and when she graduates from UVA this spring, she plans to work at a bank in Washington, D.C. to focus on business analytics. A runoff election will take place for Louisiana House District 93 between Democrats Sybil Richardson and Alonzo Knox after low voter turnout. Only about 1,300 voters went to the polls yesterday to help decide who will fill a New Orleans seat in the state house. And according to the Louisiana Secretary of State's website, the turnout unofficially clocks in at 6.1% of eligible voters in Orleans Parish. Dillard University political analyst Dr. Robert Collins says that the low turnout is not surprising.
It was on a parade day. And the particular precinct in question is actually along a parade route or close to a parade route. So any voter that actually wanted to come out and vote on election day actually had to cross some parade routes, probably had to be strategic in where they were going to park, how they were going to drive there, maybe to get dropped off.
Neither Democratic candidate received 800 votes in a city with an estimated 396,000 residents, and the runoff election will take place on March 25th. The NOPD investigates a homicide in the Little Woods neighborhood in New Orleans East. And here's what we know tonight. Police say a man was shot at least once before his body was discovered this morning. He was found in the canal near the I-10 service road and at Camberley Drive. Anyone out there with more information on his death is asked to call Crime Stoppers or the NOPD. And now that we've introduced you to the Queen of Carnival, we would like to introduce you to this year's King. His story coming up after this break.
And we are looking at pretty fantastic weather as we head into Mardi Gras. I'll have more details coming up after the break.
For the first time in recent memory, a Latin American man will reign as King of Carnival. Ludovico Fioli is a native of Costa Rica, but he's lived in New Orleans for more than 20 years. As Meg Gatto reports, Fioli says it all feels like a dream.
In a sign of tradition,
Your Majesty,
Thank you.
to be flown Saturday, congratulations.
What an honor. Thank you.
Ludovico Fioli is given the official Rex flag to fly outside his uptown home.
It's big.
The King of Carnival never expected to hold this role. After all, he wasn't born or raised here, but after moving to New Orleans in 2000, quickly rooted himself in the community and culture. His wife Stephanie has ties to the city, and over the years, the family would visit for holidays and Mardi Gras.
Our kids, since they were very little, got to enjoy the traditions of Mardi Gras.
All those years ago, if someone would have told you that one day you would be King of Carnival, would you have believed them?
I would have never believed them. In fact, I would have told them that they were delusional.
Fioli's own children had a hard time believing the news. His daughter once served as a maid in Rex's court, and his wife's father and grandfather were both Rex members. But Fioli knows this honor, to be named King of Carnival, holds incredible meaning.
You're going to be a part of history.
Well, in a small way, with all modesty, I guess I have to say yes, and that's very exciting.
Fioli wears many hats. He serves as executive director of the Center for Inter-American Policy and Research at Tulane. He's a research professor in political science and Latin American studies there, and sits on countless boards working to make New Orleans a better place. When he's not juggling all of those roles, he's been practicing for his reign, with the excitement building.
One of the great things is that I'll get to have long hair, and I'll probably have a beard, which I've never had, so that's going to be a novelty.
On this 151st anniversary of the crew of Rex, parade goers can expect to see a colorful display. The theme, Palio de Siena. Siena is a town in Tuscany with a centuries-old tradition, much like Mardi Gras, that brings people together.
I've come to understand the wonderful good fortune that being able to congregate with the community represents.
For Ludovico Fioli, his hope is that this carnival season serves to unite us for a day of merriment and fun. Meg Gatto, Fox 8, Local First.
This year, 450 riders will take part in Rex on 29 different floats.
Now, your Weather Authority forecast from the Conroe Norwood.
And Rex will make his arrival tomorrow. Lots of events going on Mardi Gras, and we're going to have some great weather for it. Here's where we stand as we break down the day. You know, you get that early morning start. You know, we've got those festivals down by the river. You've got in Rivertown and Kenner. There's going to be a whole lot going on, and while we'll have some clouds around, it'll still be mild. We'll see temperatures jumping up quickly into the 60s and 70s as we get into the afternoon. Yes, 70s. So I actually thought it was a little warm today at the midday. So we're going to plan for that over the day tomorrow. It's going to be really busy, and even into the night where we have our parades for the nighttime, well, we're going to be looking at those warmer conditions hanging on. Right now, here's what we can expect. We started the morning out at 46 at the lakefront, 41 at Slidell, and it was 40 in Gonzales. We still had some 30s on the map here. Our long-term average, 51. So we're going from below normal for our lows to pretty much average. Our normal high for the day is 67. We were 69 in Kenner, to way above average as we see this forecast continuing on. Right now, it's 54 at Belle Chase, 59 here at Fox 8, and 56 in Slidell. We've got the southerly flow in place already, so that's already bringing in more moisture. More moist air really going to be taking over the next couple of days. Tonight, you see our dew points that are in the upper 40s and 50s already. So those 30s are gone by the wayside, and we likely won't see much in the 40s either for overnight lows because we continue to see this strong southerly flow keeping us warm and picking up through the day. So this is where we go through tonight. Lundi Gras and Mardi Gras are going to be much warmer around here. Anything that could bring you rain, look where it's going. Way up and over. We've got high pressure that's really stretched all the way across the Gulf of Mexico and even down into Florida, Cuba. Look how clear the air is there. That's controlling what's happening with the weather. This low that's spinning along the coast here at Baja, that's going to take a long time to make progress. So that means our stretch of weather here for the next couple of days as we finish out this carnival season, winds west to east in the mid to upper levels. At the surface, southerly, our high pressure does move a bit to the east, but that just means we get a stronger southerly flow in here. We'll continue to see much warmer conditions around through the day on Monday into Tuesday. Wednesday, a few more clouds at play, maybe late Tuesday into Wednesday, but any energy that could really spark any real rain, it's likely to stay north, and we're looking warm and nice through the end of the week. So we've been giving you that Mardi Gras countdown, and look, we're just slashing the days. There's only 2 left. We're not going to think this is a long haul though. This is going to be a long plus 48 hours that we're working with here still. Warm, muggy conditions on Monday, temperatures mid 70s. We're going to be kissing 80 on Mardi Gras. So if you've got a very elaborate costume, think about those layers. They don't need to be too thick here. And we stay warm right through the week. Look at that going into next weekend. Still expecting to see pretty warm conditions in place. This is your extended forecast. If you wondered, hey, that blue square, you need that Fox 8 weather app while you're on the go the next couple of days. I know it's going to be hard to be in front of the TV. Scan that. That's going to give you an opportunity to catch our forecast on the go. In the meantime, though, looks pretty good if we can deal with the heat, Lauren.
All right, Nakandra, everyone stay hydrated. Mardi Gras Day. College baseball wrapped up its first weekend today, and the top-ranked LSU Tigers were looking to begin the campaign. 3-0 highlights from their game and the rest of the teams coming up in sports.
The first busy weekend of the college baseball season came to a close for most of our teams today, and for the most part of their series, the LSU Tigers looked like they were the #1 team in the nation against Western Michigan. Take it to Alex Box Stadium, where the Tigers went after the series sweep of WMU today. Picked things up in the 5th inning, where the Tigers just blew things open. It's tied at 1, not anymore. Dylan Cruz, deepest part of the park, 2-run shot. Tigers with a 3-1 lead. They would add to it in the same inning. Now 4-1, make that 6-1. Jordan Thompson swinging for the fences, climbs the left field wall. It's gone. LSU with a 5-run lead. They would add to it in the 6th inning. Gavin Dugas, this one to left. Ballpark not going to hold it. Home run, LSU, they win it easily 9-2 and get the 3-game series sweep. Out west, Tulane looking to salvage a win in their series against UC Irvine. Pick it up in the 4th, wave down 1-0, but with a chance to tie it with bases loaded and one on for Chase Engelhardt. But Brady Margette is thrown out on the fielder's choice at home, so the bases are still loaded for Simon Baumgart, and he goes down swinging. That kind of day for the Wave. They lose 1-0 and were swept by the Anteaters. Also on the road for UNO, the Privateers needing a win to take the series at Kennesaw State. Tears on the board first. Miles Austin.
1-0, and that one hit hard into
That's
center field.
up the middle. Going to land in front of the center fielder.
Overplaying it.
Advances the second on an error by the center fielder. Tyler Bishke would come home to score for UNO with a 1-0 lead. UNO actually led 2-0 before the Owls exploded at 5 runs in the next 2 innings on 3 home runs. Nick Kalina's dinger also got that blast from Spencer Hansen and Mason Jones. Kennesaw State win the rubber game. 8-4 is your final this afternoon. Meanwhile, over in Thibodaux, Nichols played game 3 of 4 against Lindenwood. Colonels gave true freshman Jacob Myers his first collegiate start on the bump, and he came through 5 complete innings, striking out 9 along the way, not allowing a single hit or a single run. The majority of his run support came in the 5th when the Colonels played at 5. 2 coming home on this double by Garrett Felix. Colonels win it 8-3. Game 4 will be tomorrow down in Thibodaux. And over in Hammond, Southeastern took care of business against Lafayette 11-4. They sweep all 4 games in this series. And that takes us to tonight's final play, where we will have a complete roundup of the college baseball opening weekend. But we'll begin with the Pelicans as they wrap up their All-Star weekend break. We'll also welcome into the studio NOLA Gold head coach Kane Thompson, and we'll have a recap on the big stakes day at the fairgrounds over the weekend as a couple of horses set themselves up for an even bigger payday to come at Churchill Downs. Join us for a busy final play tonight at 10:30. And that's your sports for now. We'll see you in just a few. Lauren?
All right, Juan, thank you very much. 2 weeks after the downing of an alleged Chinese spy balloon, lawmakers have more questions. What they have to say about the recovery efforts of 2 other shot down unidentified objects. And the U.S. Secretary of State makes an announcement after taking a helicopter tour of the damage from a massive earthquake that devastated Turkey and Syria. Hear how much the U.S. will offer in aid after his announcement. Lawmakers question why the U.S. called off the search for 2 objects shot down over U.S. territory last weekend. As David Spunt reports, it comes after a meeting between Secretary of State Antony Blinken and his Chinese counterpart.
4 objects in total, all shot down by the U.S. military. The only one recovered, the Chinese spy balloon. Now, we are told by senior administration officials the other 3 likely have no ties to China. Canada suspended the search to recover one over the Yukon territory. Now, here's White House spokesman John Kirby this morning.
We've called off now the search in Lake Huron and the one over Alaska, so we may never know completely. But the leading intelligence community assessment is that they were probably for benign purposes, whether it's weather or commercial scientific research.
Meanwhile, President Biden says he plans to speak to his counterpart, Chinese President Xi Jinping, about the Chinese balloon incident after Secretary of State Antony Blinken met with his counterpart, Wang Yi, in Germany over the weekend, although the Chinese did not apologize and are spinning the story.
They're lying about the balloon the same way they've lied about COVID. And it's time for us to stop being reactionary to China and start actually being aggressive and letting China know what we expect of them.
The president leaves on Monday for Poland to mark the grim 1-year anniversary of the war in Ukraine, and Secretary Blinken made it clear to his counterpart China's help to Russia is unacceptable.
China has been engaged in providing rhetorical, political, diplomatic support to Russia, but we have information that gives us concern that they are considering providing lethal support to Russia in the war against Ukraine. And it was important for me to share very clearly with Wang Yi that this would be a serious problem.
As of now, White House officials say there is no plan for President Biden to physically enter Ukraine. At the White House, David Spunt, Fox News.
The U.S. and South Korea conduct joint air drills today after North Korea says it tested a new ballistic missile. It comes as the allies ramp up their joint defense against North Korean threats. North Korean state TV says it tested the missile's reliability and readiness to use nuclear force. The North Korean weapon hit a target area in the water between Japan and the Korean peninsula. It's unknown if the country actually has a working nuclear-tipped missile. Israeli airstrikes reportedly leave several people dead today in Syria. Syrian state news says that the attack happened on the capital of Damascus, and it killed at least 5 people and leaves 15 more injured. Several residential buildings, an art institute, and a citadel were damaged in these strikes. Israeli officials have not yet to comment or can talk more about this incident, and the attack comes almost 2 weeks after the massive earthquake that devastated parts of both Syria and Turkey. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken announces more aid from the U.S. to help those affected by the massive earthquake in Turkey and Syria. He says the U.S. will give an additional $100 million, and it comes as Blinken tours some of the hardest hit areas there. And when speaking after the helicopter tour, Blinken announced the specific U.S. funding for disaster relief efforts.
We've had about $85 million worth of assistance poured in immediately for housing, water, and food, and medicine, and clothing. All that in the immediate days following the earthquake. Today I can announce that we will be putting in another $100 million to assist those who are so desperately in need.
American assistance for the earthquake is now at a total of $180 million. More than 46,000 people are dead in Turkey and Syria, while officials continue their recovery efforts there. Norfolk Southern's CEO speaks out after the Ohio train derailment that leaked hazardous materials into the air. As Corey McRae reports, CEO Alan Shaw says he stands by the decision to release those toxic chemicals.
It's been more than 2 weeks since the train derailment in East Palestine and 12 days since the controlled burn that released toxic chemicals, including vinyl chloride, into the atmosphere. It's a decision Norfolk Southern CEO Alan Shaw stands behind.
I think we did what we needed to do in order to prevent an uncontrolled explosion in the evening.
Shaw, along with company consultants, the Department of Defense, the National Guard, as well as state and local officials, all signed off on the move. Shaw says the company has hired consultants to do air and water quality tests in conjunction with the EPA. According to him, all air and municipal water tests have come back clean, but that those with private wells should keep drinking bottled water.
Private well testing, we need to continue to monitor and test the wells and wait for those test results to come back.
Now keep in mind that rail line that runs through town here in East Palestine was up and running over a week ago. I asked Alan Shaw, did they test that soil before putting new rail line down? He wouldn't give me a direct answer.
We worked with the Ohio EPA to make sure that it was safe to operate in that area.
So none of the soil underneath the rail lines is contaminated?
I didn't say that. What I'm saying is we worked with the Ohio EPA on safe operations and safety for the community.
But Shaw still wouldn't say whether the soil under the replaced rail line is bad. He only promised to do, quote, whatever is required, close quote, and punted back to the Ohio EPA. Shaw added that the contaminated water is being taken out of state and the contaminated soil will be taken to the appropriate landfill.
And that was Corey McRae reporting. The Biden administration says it deployed federal medical experts to assess if any dangers remain in the area. The CDC also plans to send a team to assess public health needs in that area. People across the U.S. support former President Jimmy Carter after a recent announcement on his health. How Americans say they will remember the former leader. And the world says goodbye to a famous actor and comedian. Learn more about the life of Richard Belzer. Actor and comedian Richard Belzer dies at the age of 78 years old. Belzer is best known for his role as Detective John Munch on Law & Order Special Victims Unit. And the news comes from his manager, who says Belzer passed away peacefully at his home in France. The actor also appeared in other TV shows like 30 Rock, Arrested Development, and Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. And his detective character, Munch, was even turned into a puppet for a Sesame Street skit called Special Letters Unit. Support for former President Jimmy Carter pours in from many Americans after the announcement he has entered at-home hospice care. Caroline Shively has an update for us tonight.
He's lived such a good and valuable and important life that has affected so many people.
People in former President Jimmy Carter's home state of Georgia reflecting on his life and legacy Sunday. Carter is resting at his house in Plains after choosing to no longer seek life-prolonging medical treatment. Before his time in Washington, the former peanut farmer served as the governor of Georgia and as a Georgia state senator, a fixture in the community.
It was so natural for him to do that it was not a surprise, and people took it for granted. This is what Jimmy does. You know, he lives there, he works there.
President Biden also offered his well wishes on Sunday, tweeting, "Jill and I are with you in prayer and love. We admire you for the strength and humility you have shown in difficult times." Carter was elected the 39th president in 1976. It was a critical time in U.S. history in the wake of the Vietnam War and the Watergate scandal, which forced then-President Nixon out of office 2 years earlier. Though many say Carter's decades of charity work are his greatest contribution.
The former Navy serviceman who came into office as a stable force, calming force in our country's life. He remained, I think, now the model for what someone does post-presidency in America.
And that was Caroline Shively reporting. Analysts say some major retailers may see a decline in their sales this year. It comes as they await the release of results for the holiday shopping quarter. And that data can point toward where those retailers stand as the shopping surge that followed pandemic lockdowns winds down. And some retailers could cut costs to make up for the slowdown in sales. Analysts also say social trends are influencing how people are choosing to spend their money. Recently, Americans are spending more on experiences like dining or traveling rather than consumer goods. And Americans could pay more for a used car. Manheim says prices have jumped 4% in the last 2 weeks, and it comes after a shortage of new car inventory last year. It also comes as the busy season for purchasing used cars approaches, since people tend to buy more when they get their tax returns. And dealers are now working to rebuild their inventories, which is also causing an increase in those prices.
We are looking at a southerly flow across the region, and that's going to mean more moisture to work with heading into our carnival celebrations. I'll have more details coming up.
Now, your Weather Authority forecast from the Conroe Norwood.
We are heading into those final couple of days of Carnival here, and boy, it's a big change. We are going to have a lot of events tomorrow. You got all the festivals, and we've got the big parades tomorrow night. Proteus and Orpheus uptown, Centurions and Metairie, and it is going to be a fantastic but warmer and more humid day. So we're talking about temperatures in the middle 70s, lots of sunshine. Let's see how this all comes together. Right now, this is where we started this morning. It was 38 at Hammond, 41 in Slidell. It was cold in a lot of spots this morning, but we warmed up rapidly, and by the afternoon, look at that, some 70s showing up for afternoon highs with 69 at the airport. It's right on track for long-term averages. We're going to flip that script once again. We're going to go from on track to well above long-term averages as we go into your Lundi Gras and your Mardi Gras forecast here. So current conditions, it's mid-50s tonight. We've still got 81% humidity in this evening hours with the southerly wind at 7, pulling in more moisture. Look at that, the dew points in the middle 50s. And that's what we're going to be looking at now over the next 2 days. That's going to be our big factor in the forecast, is warmer, more humid air, what that's going to feel like for you as we get out and about through the day. So all across the region, these mid to upper 50s tonight, not going to cool down all that much because you can't cool down past your dew points. You got all that moisture in the air, and it is going to stick around and continue to increase on southerly winds. That's what we're working with all across the region. So stretching all the way back into central Texas, we've got high pressure at the surface, so our high really right overhead. And in the big picture, mid and upper levels, this is the high pressure all the way down into the Gulf of Mexico. Look how clear everything is as you head south all the way down the Yucatan into the area around Cuba, the Bahamas. That's what's controlling weather all along the southeast. And look at that. We have to go all the way across the Baja to see the next storm system. That spin, it's going to take a long time to make its way across the country here. And even as it does, this high pressure is strong, so we're going up and over. This is going to be very much like a springtime, summertime, a feel to the air here as far as how this pattern is going to work out for us. So not a lot of energy to trigger storms. We'll continue to see some clouds around because you notice you got that southwesterly flow that's getting a little bit of cloud cover in with all the moisture that we're pulling in at the surface. So our high pressure really right up the Gulf, mouth of the river, that moves a little bit farther to the east here, which just means increases in our southerly wind. That's going to continue through tomorrow. So Monday, you got the moisture in place, the humidity's coming up. Tuesday for Mardi Gras, Fat Tuesday, it is going to feel a little sticky out there. We have a few more clouds around as well, but it's going to be dry rain-wise. You may have been seeing like 20% here. I don't really think we're going to have issues with that, but because there's so much moisture and because of the heat, some of the models are trying to say, okay, maybe a sprinkle here or there. There shouldn't be any problems at all for all of our Mardi Gras celebrations. And going into Ash Wednesday, still going to be warm and nice over the next several days. So our Mardi Gras countdown, it's been up and down, and boy, the final couple of days here looking pretty good with those warm conditions around. And the roller coaster maybe levels off a little bit at the top. You're going to be on the higher end here over the rest of the week, even into next weekend. Look at that extended forecast. Overnight lows, no 30s or 40s at all in that extended stretch that we're working with. And remember, you can always check things out with the weather phone. Out on the water, things are calm as well. We will have breezier conditions around as we head towards the middle of the week.
All right, Nicandra, thank you so much. Well, ahead in sports, the LSU women's basketball team had a tough test in the swamp as they battled the Florida Gators. Juan Kincaid will have their highlights. This is coming up.
Exactly 1 week ago, the LSU women's basketball team got humbled by #1 ranked South Carolina, losing by 24 points on the road. Since then, Kim Mulkey's squad has had a bounce back, beating Ole Miss by 9 during the week and picking up a solid road win in the swamp of Florida today. Nobody could stop Jasmine Carson. She was hot from beyond the arc, knocking down 7 3-pointers on the afternoon, finishing with a team-tying high 25 points as LSU found themselves up by 13-14 in the third quarter. Of course, she got some help from Angel Reese inside and one. She had 25 points as well to go along with 16 rebounds. Lady Tigers win it 90-79 in the swamp. And worth a mention from Saturday, the accomplishment by Tulane head coach Lisa Stockton with her Green Waves win over Cincinnati. Yesterday, Stockton became the all-time winningest women's basketball coach in the state of Louisiana. It was win number 577 for Coach, who has 20 wins in her 21 seasons at Tulane. And this one pushes her past Leon Barmore and into the record books. Congratulations, Lisa. This week, the state basketball pairings will come out, and the Catholic League champs, St. Aug, figure to be one of the teams to beat going forward. Andre Johnson has more.
The drive that led St. Aug to the top of the Catholic League was born on the practice court, or in their case, practice courts. The Purple Knights don't have a home gym to call their own, so they just have to get in where they fit in all across the city.
I have a list of different gyms that we've used. Nord facilities, Rosenwald, St. Martin's, Warren Easton, St. Mary's, of course. And the list goes on.
And while that may be their reality, the Purple Knights refuse to allow it to be an excuse.
It's easy to say, hey man, we don't have a gym, we have this to deal with, we have that to deal with. It's all about accountability and still being able to do what you can and be who you are despite your circumstances.
According to head coach Gerald Lewis, playing practice gym musical chairs builds character.
I understand this is difficult for you. I understand that you wish we had practice every day at 3 o'clock and you got home at 5, and we didn't have that privilege. So for them to overcome that alone, I think speaks volumes of who they are as young men.
It's hectic, I'll tell you that. It is, but it's fun, you know, since it makes us bond more and it makes us feel more like a team.
Now the Knights head to the playoffs, a place they're very familiar with.
I have a couple of guys who've hoisted the trophy and who still wear the rings.
Just 2 years ago, St. Aug won the state championship. Then last year, they got bounced in the first round.
It hasn't been sitting right in my stomach for the last year, and I never want that to happen again as long as I'm here. Our goal for the last year has been to win 2 state championships back-to-back, no matter how long it takes. And I feel like we can do that this year.
Covering the Purple Knights, I'm Andre Johnson, Fox 8, Local First.
Andre, thank you very much. That's your sports. We'll see you at 10 o'clock.
All right, Juan, thank you very much. A letter makes its arrival to its destination long after its recipient passed away. Why the new resident is shocked at the date it was sent. More than 100 years after being sent, a letter finally arrives at its destination. The current resident at the address saw the year 16 on the envelope and assumed it meant 2016. Then he noticed the stamp featuring King George V instead of Queen Elizabeth II. And the letter was written by the daughter of a sea merchant, and it was addressed to a woman named Katie, the wife of a local stamp tycoon. And in the letter, she talks about a family trip and that she was suffering from a heavy cold. It's unknown how the letter appeared after all of these years. The footprint of a different kind of Bigfoot is discovered in the UK, and here's what we know about this tonight. It belongs to a megalosaurus and measures 3 feet long, and the footprint is the largest of its kind and is only one of 6 to be found in the area. The archaeologist who made this discovery says she can no longer tell people archaeologists don't do dinosaurs because of this discovery, and that people in her profession usually focus on ancient human artifacts. All right, a lot coming up on Fox 8 News at 10. The Louisiana Lottery is next, again followed by Fox 8 News at 10. Stay with us.
Good evening and welcome to the Louisiana Lottery Show. Here are tonight's winning numbers. Blast your way to winnings with Cherry Blast Slingo from the lottery. Win up to $30,000. Play Cherry Blast Slingo for your chance to win. Thank you for tuning in, and all drawings are witnessed by a legislative auditor.
Fox 8 News is New Orleans' most watched news. Fox 8 Local First starts now.
Good evening, I'm Lauren McCoy. New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell is caught on camera making an obscene gesture toward a parade float as Tux rolled past Gallier Hall. And in the now viral video, the mayor is heard yelling at the riders on the float before appearing to raise her middle finger toward them. And in the video, Mayor Cantrell is heard yelling, quote, "Enjoy your ride. So glad your ride was good. Love you," as she holds up that gesture. And it comes as the organizers of the recall petition say they're close to their goal of signatures. The mayor has also been seen and featured on a number of satirical floats poking fun at scandals involving her. And today we did speak to Dillard University political analyst Dr. Robert Collins, who says a gesture like that is shocking and will not help her cause.
I have never seen a mayor behave this way, any mayor. So it was pretty shocking. I mean, yes, it's Mardi Gras. Yes, you can have fun. But as the chief executive officer of the city of New Orleans, you have to maintain a certain level of decorum at all times.
And it's unknown at this time what led to that outburst. Fox 8 did reach out to the mayor's office for comment, and Director of Communications Gregory Joseph says, quote, "Mardi Gras is a time where satire and jest are on full display, and the city has been enjoying a safe and healthy carnival and is looking forward to continuing the celebration on Lundi Gras and Mardi Gras," end quote. The weather will only get warmer as Mardi Gras approaches. Let's go over to meteorologist Nakandra Norwood for a first look at this forecast. Nakandra, a warm Mardi Gras?
I mean, if you were out today and you were in the full sun, it definitely felt a whole lot different. Here is how things have worked out over this last week. We were on a steady climb until Thursday, and then, boy, bottom fell out. Friday was frigid, but things have started to ramp up since. It was not as windy on Saturday. Saturday actually turned out to be a really great feeling day, even with the breezy conditions early. This afternoon, I was out this afternoon, and it did feel a little hot to me. That trend is going to continue. This is what we're going to be looking for our Lundi Gras. We're jumping temperatures another 5 to 6 degrees tomorrow, middle 70s for the afternoon highs with a lot of sunshine. Don't forget the sunscreen, the hats, and you got to have your water. I want to say water because there's so many other things that folks are drinking out there, and you definitely need the water along as well because we are going to be warm and humid for all of the Lundi Gras events going into the day tomorrow. up and over, high pressure in place across the region. That's going to keep us nice and dry, but that's also going to help fuel the heat. We'll talk more about it coming up in your Weather Authority forecast.
All right, Nikandra, see you in just a bit. Throw me something, mister. That's the theme of this year's Bacchus parade. Crowds and crowds of people came together this evening in Uptown, waiting for the floats, the throws, and waiting to see this year's king, actor and comedian Adam Devine. And I was able to catch up with him right before he got on to his throne.
Anthony Mackie, Will Ferrell, and Drew Brees.
Well, yes, I feel like I am a similar level of athlete as Drew, so it makes sense that they'd come to me next.
Actor and comedian Adam Devine joins the likes of many before him, being crowned Bacchus 54.
No, obviously, it's such an honor. All the past kings, it's been cool to even have my name be a little blip next to theirs.
Inside of his bus minutes before getting on his float, Devine tells me he hails from the Midwest, but has a strong local tie.
My wife is from New Orleans, and her family lost their minds when they heard that I was crowned Bacchus. So, this is for them. My parents, being from the Midwest, didn't quite know what we're getting ourselves into. But they're having a great time as well.
And of course, while he's here in his wife's hometown, he has to get some authentic New Orleans cuisine.
What was a Chick-fil-A? Yep, that place, so dang good. We went to Commander's Palace. Obviously, it's a classic place, so good. And we went to Acme Oyster House today, which they were like, eat until you can't eat anymore, and then eat more, because you won't be allowed to have anything, or you won't get to eat anything really until like midnight. So I OD'd on oysters, on char-grilled oysters.
Devine has an extensive resume, starring in a number of TV shows and movies, including Pitch Perfect, filmed on LSU's campus, Modern Family, and Workaholics.
Blake Anderson is here from Workaholics. Got a bunch of my very best friends that are gonna have a great time as well.
Now the time has come for Devine to throw some beads and doubloons and get to rolling.
I'm feeling like a billion doubloons right now. It's so much fun. Everybody's so excited, and I can't wait to get started.
And Bacchus is a New Orleans carnival staple dating back all the way to 1968. And this year, more than 30 floats rolled down the streets of Uptown. Well, we now know the identity of this year's Queen of Carnival. Sticking with Carnival, Eveline Gomilla is a 21-year-old student at the University of Virginia who grew up uptown. And as Meg Gatto tells us, Gomilla and her parents are over the moon about her selection as Queen.
At the Gomilla family home uptown, photos of Eveline Gomilla with her brothers and parents enjoying the Rex parade adorn the living room.
These are my older brother when he was a Duke last year.
The family's ties to the Rex organization run deep. That's why Evie's selection as Queen of Carnival is one that delighted the entire family. Evie admits she never actually thought she would be the one Rex toasted on Mardi Gras.
It's definitely something I always dreamed of, but I never thought it would be me, so that just made it all the more special to get this honor.
Evie's dad is a lieutenant with Rex. He rides every year, and a tradition he started played into how her parents told her she was named Queen.
He was holding out his Rex lieutenant's crop with the purple, green, and gold ribbons on it, and then I was even more confused because I was like, why is that up here from New Orleans? But when I got closer, I saw that there was a little gold crown tied to it. I was so shocked and surprised, and my dad was staring at me, and he's like, do you know what this means? You're going to be Queen of Carnival. And so that was just so exciting, and I was so surprised, and it was a great day.
It's an honor for someone who, at her young age, is already giving back to others in her community, both in New Orleans and in Charlottesville, Virginia, where UVA is located. And this selection as Queen will propel her to do even more with Rex's charitable arm.
I've really enjoyed getting to learn about the Pro Bono Publico Foundation ever since finding out I would reign as Queen of Carnival. And I'm excited to get to work with all the former queens and all the effort they put into the organization.
In the months since Evie found out that she would be queen, she's been hard at work designing her gown for the Rex Ball. Another dream come to life thanks to a New Orleans-based designer.
This dress is inspired by a dress that's been in the Dior exhibit that's been traveling around to different museums. And we took inspiration from its pattern that gets smaller towards the waist and then grows out towards the bottom. And as you get closer to the bottom and the squares get bigger, these are stylized fleur-de-lis, and each fleur-de-lis gets a little bit more detailed. And we worked with Suzanne St. Paul, who came up with the beautiful beading design.
Are you sad that you only get to wear this for a day?
I am, but you know, I'm gonna make the best of it, and it'll be an amazing night.
Meg Gatto, Fox 8, Local First.
And a big congrats to Evie. Evie is majoring in computer science with a minor in economics. And when she graduates from UVA this spring, she plans to work at a bank in Washington, D.C. to focus on business analytics. And tonight, the NOPD investigates a homicide in the Little Woods neighborhood in New Orleans East. And police say a man was shot at least once before his body was discovered this morning. And he was found in a canal near the I-10 service road and Camberley Drive. Anyone out there with more information on his death is asked to call Crime Stoppers or the NOPD. Now that we've introduced you to the queen of Carnival, we would like you to meet this year's king. His story is coming up right after this break.
And we are looking at the clouds moving up and over. We've got mostly dry conditions and warmer conditions on the way for Lundi Gras and Mardi Gras. I'll have those details after the break.
For the first time in recent memory, a Latin American man will reign as king of Carnival. Ludovico Fioli is a native of Costa Rica, but he's lived here in New Orleans for more than 20 years. As Meg Gatto reports, Fioli says it all feels like a dream.
In a sign of tradition,
Your Majesty,
Thank you.
To be flown Saturday, congratulations.
What an honor. Thank you.
Ludovico Fioli is given the official Rex flag to fly outside his uptown home.
It's big.
The King of Carnival never expected to hold this role. After all, he wasn't born or raised here, but after moving to New Orleans in 2000, quickly rooted himself in the community and culture. His wife Stephanie has ties to the city, and over the years, the family would visit for holidays and Mardi Gras.
Our kids, since they were very little, got to enjoy the traditions of Mardi Gras.
All those years ago, if someone would have told you that one day you would be King of Carnival, would you have believed them?
I would have never believed them. In fact, I would have told them that they were delusional.
Fioli's own children had a hard time believing the news. His daughter once served as a maid in Rex's court, and his wife's father and grandfather were both Rex members. But Fioli knows this honor, to be named King of Carnival, holds incredible meaning.
You're going to be a part of history.
Well, in a small way, with all modesty, I guess I have to say yes, and that's very exciting.
Fioli wears many hats. He serves as executive director of the Center for Inter-American Policy and Research at Tulane. He's a research professor in political science and Latin American studies there, and sits on countless boards working to make New Orleans a better place. When he's not juggling all of those roles, he's been practicing for his reign, with the excitement building.
One of the great things is that I'll get to have long hair, and I'll probably have a beard, which I've never had, so that's going to be a novelty.
On this 151st anniversary of the crew of Rex, parade goers can expect to see a colorful display. The theme, Palio di Siena. Siena is a town in Tuscany with a centuries-old tradition, much like Mardi Gras, that brings people together.
I've come to understand the wonderful good fortune that being able to congregate with the community represents.
For Ludovico Fioli, his hope is that this carnival season serves to unite us for a day of merriment and fun. Meg Gatto, Fox 8, Local First.
This year, 450 riders will take part in Rex on 29 different floats.
Now, your Weather Authority forecast from the Conroe Norwood.
We're taking a look at how things break down for your Lundi Gras. We've got some cloud cover out there, but overall, it really is going to be a great day. Winds should be up enough to keep this cloud cover lifted. So it may look a little gray early in the morning, but should not be any big issues. We'll talk about temperatures in the middle 60s and then warming into the 70s by later on in the day. Got a lot going on tomorrow. All the festivals down by the river, Kenner, parades at night, and overall for it, the weather is going to be looking great. It is going to be warmer, though, and more humid. Take you back to where we started this morning, and it was chilly, downright cold for some spots. 39 at Bogalusa, 38 at Hammond, Macomb, all the way down to 33, and it was 41 in Slidell. We're not going to see these kinds of temperatures again for quite some time. We are going into a warm stretch. We managed to get up to 69 this afternoon in Kenner, 71 at Bogalusa, and tonight, as we take a look back towards the Superdome there, we're looking at temperatures in the mid to upper 50s, and dew points are up there as well. Those middle 50s are going to be some more sticky air around here over the next several days. It's all coming in because we have this southerly wind in place that's increasing our moisture. All stretched across the region here. These middle 50s will not fall much tonight. We're going to be talking about the lower 50s for dew points. This is about where our temperatures fall for overnight lows going into tomorrow morning because the southerly winds will continue to pump in the moisture and keep that humidity around. Now, we'll see things more warming up tomorrow as we head into the day. Again, look at that southwesterly flow. That's what gives us the cloud cover early in the morning with all the moisture around. But you got to go way back to the west before you see any action. High pressures in control all across the Gulf and most of the southeast. So this next low, it's going to take a whole lot for it to get here. Quite some time before we see that next wave of energy moving across the middle of the country, and it's still going to stay to our north. So Wednesday, maybe the soonest, and even then, this high pressure looks to have enough staying power to keep us mostly dry right through the week ahead. So our big story here is going to be how hot does it get, and how much do you have to deal with this humidity, and that is going to be the key here in our forecast over the next several days. So for Mardi Gras, I know you see those little patches of green. It's just so much moisture around that models are like, could we get, that kind of a pop-up sprinkle that you see in the springtime? Not out of the question, but I do not think that's going to be an issue for anyone as we go through the rest of our carnival celebrations. Just a few clouds around, and then things look really good even through the rest of the week here. So we've been giving you that Mardi Gras countdown, and as far as the weather is concerned, this has ended up pretty perfect. If you don't mind the heat and humidity, that's how it's working out, and that heat's going to stay with us right into next weekend. Look at that, temperatures in the upper 70s, around 80. Our long-term average is 67, so it's quite a bit above, and that's where we're going to stay here in the extended forecast. Remember, you can get the latest with the Fox 8 weather app. Your weather phone's there. Out on the water, a little bit breezy by Wednesday, but that's going to be the only thing that we'll be looking ahead to here in your marine forecast. Lauren?
All right, Nikandra, thank you very much. College baseball wrapped up its first weekend today, and the top-ranked LSU Tigers were looking to begin the campaign 3-0. Highlights from their game and the rest of our teams, that's coming up in sports.
The first busy weekend of the college baseball season came to a close for most of our teams earlier today, and for the most part in their series, the LSU Tigers looked like the #1 team in the nation against Western Michigan. Take it to Alex Box Stadium, where the Tigers went after the series sweep this afternoon. Pick it up in the bottom half of the 5th inning, because that's where LSU just blew up. Tied at 1s. Dylan Cruz changes that with one swing at the bat. Deep center field, 2-run shot, LSU up 3-1. Same inning, now 4-1 Tigers. Jordan Thompson adds 2 more to it. This one getting out of the park in a hurry. It's a 6-1 LSU lead. They weren't done. Take you to the 6th inning. Gavin Dugas, he follows suit over the left field wall. Tigers cruise today 9-2, get the series sweep of Western Michigan. As for Tulane, out west still, trying to salvage a win in their series against UC Irvine. Down 1-0 in the fourth with a chance to tie or take the lead with bases loaded, 1 out. Chase Englehart, that's going to be a fielder's choice. They're coming home, and why not? Just touch the base plate, and he's out. So now 2 outs in the inning. Simon Baumgart strikes out, ends the inning. That kind of day for the Greenies. That kind of series, they lose 1-0 and were swept by the Anteaters. Also on the road, UNO Privateers needing a win to take the series at Canal State. Tears on the board first, Miles Austin. This base knock to center, going to drop to the right of the center fielder. And then there's an error. Tyler Bischke going to come around to score. UNO up 1-0. They were at 2-0 before the Owls would explode for 5 runs in the next 2 innings. 3 home runs. This is Nick Kalina's dinger. Also got blasts from Spencer Hansen and Mason Jones. Kennesaw State win the rubber game 8-4 over UNO this afternoon. Down in Thibodaux, Nichols playing game 3 of 4 against Lindenwood. Colonels gave true freshman pitcher Jacob Mayers his first collegiate start, and he came through big time. 5 complete, striking out 9, not allowing a single run or a single hit. He was fantastic. The majority of his run support came in the 5th. A 2-run shot from the Colonels. Score 5 in the inning when they plate 5 runs. 2 coming home on this double by Garrett Felix. Colonels won it 8-3. Game time for tomorrow's final game 4 is at noon down in Thibodaux. And over in Hammond this afternoon, Southeastern taking care of business against Lafayette as they did all weekend long. 11-4 the final today. They sweep all 4 games from Lafayette. Salt Lake City tonight, Utah, NBA All-Star game, Team Giannis, Team LeBron, NBA All-Star Classic coming to a close because Damian Lillard says it has to. How about that shot in the 3rd quarter from half court? Then things started heating up in the 4th. Jason Tatum got serious. Alley-oop throwdown for him right there. Then off the inbounds, Tatum spotting and knocking down the 3. He had a double nickel. 55 points. He's your MVP, by the way. At the end of the game, Dame time again, from deep again. Giannis, Team Giannis, 184, 175. Jason Tatum, again, your game's most valuable player. And that takes us to tonight's final play. We'll talk about the Pelicans All-Star break, what's ahead for them, and we'll also have a complete rundown on college baseball's opening day. And NOLA Gold head coach Kane Thompson joins us in studio, talk about his team's season to come. And we'll recap a big stakes day at the fairgrounds. The couple of horses set themselves up for an even bigger payday to come down the road at Churchill Downs. Join us for a very busy final play right after this newscast. And finally tonight, on the track this afternoon, the longest Daytona 500 ever. And there were 2 wrecks on the final 3 laps. This is the last one on the last lap. Travis Pastrana in the middle loses and collides to bring out the 7th caution flag of the race. And instead of the car that got back to the checkered flag first to win the race, NASCAR decided the winner by who was ahead when the final caution flag came out, and that was Ricky Stenhouse Jr. taking his first ever Daytona 500 on lap 212. Again, longest Daytona in the track race's history. And that's your sports for now. The news continues after the break.
That shows. Oh, there we go. Just officers on the scene there. Okay. Okay. Are following breaking news at this hour from the Bacchus parade route, and we have a live look for you right now. The NOPD says a shooting happened near St. Charles and Terpsichore. You can see the scene right there. You see the caution tapes, officers working the scene. Reports say 4 people were shot, including a juvenile girl, and 1 person has been detained in connection with this incident. 1 victim is in critical condition at this time. Again, 4 people shot out there on the Bacchus parade route. We will keep you updated on the shooting online and on our app and throughout our newscasts tomorrow. Well, that's the news for now. Final Play is next. Have a great night.
With the Fox 8 mobile app, you'll never be without Fox 8 News. Sign up at fox8live.com for text and email alerts during breaking news and weather. Sponsored by the Fox 8 Storm Tracker, powered by Nissan.
Tonight on the Final Play, the All-Star break has come to an end for the NBA, and it couldn't have come at a better time for your New Orleans Pelicans. Radio host Joe Cardosi joins the show to catch us up on the Pels' time off. LSU has looked like the #1 ranked team in college baseball this weekend as they handled their business in their season opening series against Western Michigan. We'll also have plenty of baseball updates from the Southland Conference, including a stopover at Nicholls State to see how the Colonels are approaching the 2023 season. It's rugby season in the Crescent City, and that means the NOLA Gold are beginning their push for their first ever playoff spot. Head coach Kane Thompson joins me in studio. A stopover at the fairgrounds is in order, as is one more chance to honor a coaching legend. The Final Play starts right now.
From Fox 8 Sports, this is The Final Play, sponsored by Ron Austin Law. Serious injury, serious attorney. Your Southern quality Ford dealers, built Ford tough. Nissan, we make cars that thrill. And Cox, official internet partner of the New Orleans Saints.
The NBA's All-Star Weekend came to a close this evening with the All-Star Game. Team LeBron taking on Team Giannis. Damian Lillard setting the tone in the third quarter with this half-court three-pointer. Look at it again. It is nothing but net from Lillard. Dame time early on. And in the fourth quarter, things got serious. In fact, Jason Tatum got serious. First, finishing off the alley-oop with the dunk. Then off the inbounds play, Tatum from downtown, he finished with a double nickel, 55 points. And at the end, it was Dame time again. Lillard from deep. Team Giannis win it 184-175. Jason Tatum is the game's MVP. Welcome into the final play. I'm Juan Kincaid. Perhaps no team needed this all-star break more than your Pelicans. They had a chance to go into the weekend on a 2-game win streak after beating OKC on Monday, but it appears they left for break a little bit early, which led to a disappointing performance and loss to the Lakers last Wednesday. Madeline Adams gets us started tonight.
The Pelicans won 4 of their last 6 games, but an 18-point loss to the Lakers spoiled the momentum heading into All-Star break.
Unfortunately, we don't have another game coming up for 7-8 days, so we got to live with this one for a little while, but we'll get back after it and get going.
Another slow start for the Pelicans in LA, outscored by 13 in the first quarter, giving up 38 points to the Lakers in the opening 12 minutes. Head coach Willie Green blames the lack of urgency.
We got to start the game better. Can't dig yourself in a hole, especially on other teams' home floor. And then you got to maintain it. And that's just execution across the board, which, to be honest, we were poor at tonight.
Exactly opposite of the Pelicans, this was the Lakers' second win in their last 6 games. Los Angeles now holds the 2-1 series advantage. These two teams will face off for the final time on March 14th in New Orleans. But in the meantime, Green wants his team to focus on playing up to their standard of basketball, which he reiterates the team did not do Wednesday night in LA.
Making quick decisions, 0.5, our movement and our pace. You know, we were kind of just jogging tonight, and that's not good enough for us.
23 games left of the regular season, and the Pelicans sit in 7th place in the Western Conference. The Pels are only 3 games behind the 3rd-place Sacramento Kings, so they still have a chance to lock down a top 6 seed for the playoffs. This break gives the Pels a chance to reset for the last month and a half before the postseason starts.
We got to enjoy our break and get away from the game for a few days and then come back and refocus on our foundation and principles.
Tough Talk is sponsored by your Southern Quality Ford dealers, built Ford tough.
And now we are joined by Joe Cardosi of the Pelicans. He does radio. He does a podcast for the Pelicans as well. So glad he is able to join us in studio. Joe, first of all, a brutal loss to the Lakers. Really not the way this Pelicans team wanted to enter the All-Star break. How do they kind of deal with that as they're kind of resting and resetting over these next couple days?
Well, I think the All-Star break couldn't come at a better time, especially for the Pelicans. You know, we've been snake bit, and I know a lot of people want to blame somebody for how the Pelicans have been health-wise, how they've been performing. It's not fun. It's not fulfilling to have no one to blame, but sometimes the weather's cold and Zion's hamstring's injured. That's just how it is. So you look to get Dyson Daniels back. You look to get Zion back. You look to get everyone sort of back on track. Even the players that we have, they just sort of looked exhausted down the stretch. You looked at Jonas Valanciunas, who's just been a warrior.
Yes,
you know,
hasn't missed a game.
Hasn't missed a game.
Besides one, yeah.
Yeah, he had the one where he went out, but that was about it. And, you know, he needs some time to recover. C.J. McCollum has the ankle, but he's also had that thumb brace people forget about. So I think the Pelicans just need to rest, reset, and stay the course.
Yeah, I think perhaps more than any other team in the NBA, this All-Star break could really benefit the Pelicans. When you look at their recent losses, it's almost like the same pattern. Like they get kind of a slow start in the first quarter. Second quarter, they make a big push and close the gap. Third quarter, again, it's more of a slow start out of the halftime. And then the fourth quarter, they're making this big comeback. How can they develop some consistency in these games to where they're not having to come from behind down 15, 20 points?
I think that's the big question. I think that's what even Coach Green would like to find out. The players as constructed on this team, I think, have the ability to play better and to play better in those first quarters. It's not a lack of talent. It's not a lack of ability. It just seems to be a lack of focus sometimes. I think that's the most frustrating thing, even for Coach Green. He's addressed it in post-game press conferences, the lack of toughness, the lack of focus sometimes. In the huddle, he was saying the All-Star break is not here yet. You know, you need to play. And so maybe this break is going to reset things. Maybe Trey Murphy can start being the Trey Murphy we know, being accurate from the outside, maybe putting it on the floor a little more after the dunk contest. We'll see. But, you know, you just hope that the players as constructed can sort of focus more. I hate to make it that simple, but sometimes it's just being worn down.
Yeah, absolutely. They could use the rest. David Griffin said that Zion Williamson will miss multiple more weeks after this All-Star break. How do the Pelicans kind of keep their head above water? They've got 23 games left. I mean, how do they kind of sustain what they've got to try to make a push into the top 6?
You hope that they learn from, unfortunately, being in this position before. The Pelicans have been here before without Zion. They've proven that they can be a force in the playoffs without Zion. And they've got some extra pieces. I mean, people forget Dyson Daniels, what he adds to the team when he is there. Just the flexibility in terms of defensively and a little bit of offensive rotation, especially when Herb's having a rough night and whatnot. So, you know, the team just needs to do what they've done before. They need to play like they've played before. They need to let BI sort of run the show while Zion's out. And when Zion's out, you just hope it's a shorter span than a longer span. It's still uncertain, and a lot of that is yet to be seen. But you just hope you can stay afloat, and when he comes back, you can make that final push into the playoffs.
Yeah. Do you think this losing stretch has kind of proved that Zion was an MVP candidate? I mean, we saw that in December. He was getting MVP chance in the Smoothie King Center. Do you think this last month has really proved just that he is an MVP caliber player?
I don't know what else would. I mean, if when your star player goes down, your team's going to struggle. I think if Jason Tatum went down for the Celtics, if Joel Embiid went down for the 76ers, you would have the same issues. So Zion was playing at an all-star level. He was an all-star starter for a reason. It's just unlucky that he went down. These injuries are frustrating, especially soft tissue injuries. You worry that it's going to be a nagging thing, but a hamstring it's a hamstring. There's just not much you can do about it. It's prone to re-aggravation. Zion has proven when he is on the court, he absolutely changes the entire outlook of this team. How teams face the Pelicans, how they have to plan for the Pelicans, how the Pelicans play as a unit. It opens up everyone else's game when Zion's on the floor drawing that gravity. You know?
Yeah, and you know, too, I just think back to that Minnesota game where he took over at the Smoothie King Center and really helped the Pelicans win that game against the Timberwolves. The good thing is that Brandon Ingram is playing like Brandon Ingram again. I mean, he's been really good for the Pelicans lately and has helped them to kind of get the wins they need to kind of stay in the top 8. They're 7th right now.
Yes, and you hope to sort of stay there and make up some ground. You know, the West is bunched up, and it's a good thing and a bad thing depending on your perspective. It depends on how optimistic you're feeling that day. I think a lot of Pelicans fans are disheartened because of that Lakers loss. We had a little bit of momentum, it seemed, going after that Thunder victory, and then to sort of have it skid to a halt, especially against the Lakers, whose swap we are interested in. But I don't feel like there's a need to panic yet. I mean, it was a tough loss. The Pelicans came out admittedly flat, but the Pelicans can still make a lot of hay in the second half of the season. We've seen it before in a much more dire first half of the season, much more shorthanded. So I'm excited about the second half of the season. I really think we can make a push.
Yeah, and another new addition, Josh Richardson. It was a modest trade at the trade deadline for the Pelicans, but Josh Richardson he was very impressive his first game, 5 steals. It was tied his career high for him. He did get tossed a little early in this last game. He was frustrated with a no call, but still he shows his passion. Still a really impressive showing in the first 2 games for Josh Richardson.
Absolutely. It shows that veteran savvy that they traded for. I think a lot of people wanted something sexier, splashier, especially with all the moves happening in the West. But it was a prudent move, and David Griffin has been open about stating that he wants to develop a team that's going to make runs in the future, not a win-now mentality. And Josh Richardson is the epitome of that. He brings defense. Not a lot of NBA players are willing to play defense. He's one of those guys, and he's smart. He has good court vision. You saw that lob to Kyra for the 3, that full court pass. It's just a smart, savvy addition. I think a lot of people were sad about Josh Hart leaving, for example. Yeah. And then with Larry Nance, C.J. McCollum, and what they brought to the team, it's not that it was easy to forget about Josh Hart, but it softened the blow. And I think Josh Richardson and what fans are going to see out of him, especially come towards the end of the season when you need that defense, I think they're going to appreciate that move a little more.
All right, 23 games left of the season. We'll see what happens. Joe, thank you so much for your time. Always appreciate talking with you.
Thanks for having me.
The Pelicans will get back to work on Thursday as they continue their road trip in Toronto. Then it's on to New York to face the Knicks to wrap up the 4-game trip on Saturday. They'll wrap up the month of February at home on the 27th against the Orlando Magic. Then it's back on the road for 3 straight games. Still to come on the final play, opening day of the college baseball season and season opening series are coming to an end. We'll head to campus and go around the diamond when we come back.
Watching the final play, sponsored by Runoff and Law, your Southern quality Ford dealers, Nissan and Cox.
The #1 ranked LSU Tigers looked the part in their opening series against Western Michigan. A 10-0 win in Friday's first game, followed up by a more modest 5-3 win on Saturday. That meant the Tigers were going after the series sweep today as we take you to Alec Box Stadium. Pick this game up in the 5th. That's when the Tigers blew things wide open. Bottom 5, ones on the scoreboard. Dylan Cruz going deep to center field. 2-run shot, LSU with a 3-1 lead. Still in the 5th, now 4-1 Tigers, and Jordan Thompson comes through. This one over the left field wall, LSU with a 6-1 lead. Now in the 6th inning, Gavin Dugas. That one's gone over the left field wall as well. Tigers win it easy today, 9-2 to get the series sweep. On today's scoreboard, Tulane off to an 0-3 start after being swept at UC Irvine. And Southeastern won all 4 games against Lafayette, winning today's final game 11-4. UNO lost their series opener at Canal St 8-4. They lose the series 2-1. Meanwhile, over in Thibodaux, there's a real focus on consistency for the Nichols Colonels, who have not had back-to-back winning seasons since the 2014 and 2015 seasons. But new head coach Mike Silva is hoping to change the Colonels' yearly expectations. Andre Johnson has more from Thibodaux, where the Colonels faced Lindenwood earlier today.
Before the game, I went up to the whole infield. I was like, hey, we're gonna have to play good behind him, because I thought the nerves would be there, but I think he shocked everyone.
Typically, when you're making your first collegiate start, that does come with a fair amount of nerves. But true freshman Jacob Myers didn't have that. What he did have were 5 hitless innings, 9 strikeouts, and proof that Nichols could potentially have the best pitching staff in the Southland Conference this season.
I think we're good enough to win every game this year. I think we have the depth. We're all good enough to pitch at any type of level.
Last year, in his first season at the helm over at Nichols, head coach Mike Silva led the Colonels to their first winning record since 2017. Now, he's got a chance to do it in back-to-back seasons for the first time in nearly a decade.
Just going to take that killer instinct, coming out and playing consistent baseball. You can't be satisfied in this game. You got to continue to stay hungry and be consistent and be fundamentally sound and take advantage of opportunities when you get them.
And there is no lack of motivation to pull that off. The Colonels were ranked 6th in the conference's preseason poll, and they're looking forward to taking a swing at anyone underestimating them.
I think that they're not putting respect on our name where we got a bunch of guys on this team that returned, and I think we can compete with anybody in the conference or even out of the conference.
You get what you earn. If you want to be picked first, then go win it. Chip on your shoulder, all that stuff, it's just about what you do between the lines.
After today, the Colonels now take a 2-1 lead in the weekend series over Lindenwood. They've got a chance to close it out with one more win tomorrow at noon. Covering Nichols, I'm Andre Johnson for the Final Play.
Nichols and Lindenwood will wrap up their series tomorrow at noon. Everybody's back on the diamond on Tuesday. LSU hosting Southern, Southeastern playing at Jackson State, UNO on the road at Southern Miss, Tulane still out west, wrapping up that West Coast swing at Cal State Fullerton. Coming up on the Final Play, a check-in on your NOLA Gold as we welcome head coach Kane Thompson in the studio, and later we'll go down the stretch at the fairgrounds. And be sure to subscribe to Fox 8 Overtime Podcast for more Saints analysis on demand. You can find all of our podcasts on fox8live.com, the Final Play app, and wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Watching the Final Play, sponsored by Runoff and Law, your Southern quality Ford dealers, Nissan, and Cox.
Back here on the Final Play, and it was a slow start to the Major League Rugby season for your NOLA Gold. Hosting the New England Free Jacks on Friday, the Gold kept it close early thanks to back-to-back tries that brought the score to 14-12. But the Free Jacks went on a 21-0 run, hand the Gold a 35-12 season-opening loss. The Gold will play in Houston next Saturday. Nice to have on the program for the first time Kane Thompson, the head coach of the NOLA Gold. You mentioned at the beginning of the year you want to be physical, abrasive, and ruthless. Do you feel like you have those players to be all three this year?
We definitely have those players to be physical and ruthless. So it's just about all coming together as one in the buy-in, but we've got a very strong physical squad this year that we have high expectations of.
Yeah, 4-12 last year, a bit of a struggle for the team. Probably their worst record since, I guess, you've been with the team as a player and both a coach. Talent, experience, and culture. Every good team has to have that. You guys are trying to get to that. You feel like you've gotten closer?
I think we've definitely got the squad that I want to coach. Yeah, last year was very tough. First year in the role of head coach. A few injuries here and there, and just a little feeling things out. But I think this year we